Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. My name is Keesha Booth. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be hosting tonight's event, obviously by Feros Care around intimacy and inclusivity. And we'll be discussing, obviously, relationships and disability, and I guess all the unspoken words that go within that space. So I am absolutely honoured to host this event and to obviously share the space and with not just the panellists, but with you as the audience member. But before we get into any of the formalities, I would like to introduce Cliffy Wilson to do a welcome to country.
There we go. Alrighty, good evening. How are we all? Yeah, probably a lot warmer than I am at the moment, yeah? There we go. Now, look, I wanted to be here to welcome you to the country on behalf of my family, the Ghana people, and also the Kumakara Cultural Services, which is a company I work for that I'm fortunate enough to do this work through. I'm a part of the first generation of my family to be able to relearn the Ghana language and stand up here publicly to showcase a bit of my culture for you. So always a proud moment for myself. So to welcome you, I do want to do that in the traditional Ghana language, and I start by saying, Yankanamina, Namani. Nā nare Cliffy Tunku Milacha Wilson. Nai Naranjeri, Ghana, Naranga, Nadri, Arandamiyu. Maduichanga Ghana Miana, Nai Wangadi Mani Budnikani Yatana. Nachi Yukandalia Yakandalia, Nachalia. So to translate, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Cliffy Wilson. I also go by Tunku and Manacha, which are my traditional names. Now, I'll explain a bit about those. The first one, Tunku, is my totem. Now, that could be native plants, native animals, or some of our tools and artifacts that we have. And we have to protect and look after them as a part of our culture because we believe we belong to the country just as they did. Now, I'm a bit unfortunate with mine. It's the king brown snake, one of the most dangerous animals in the world, so I feel like I probably got set up with that one, I reckon. So there we go, a bit unfortunate, eh? But also, Manacha is just my... about that, is just my birth order name. So what that means is every child that the mother carries through her pregnancy will get one. Mine is Manacha, which is fourth born and male of my family. Speaking of my family, we're proud Ghana people from here in the Adelaide Plains and also proud Ngarrindjeri people from the lower lakes of the Coorong. We do extend out to the Naranga people on the York Peninsula, the Ngarrindjeri people on the Flinders Ranges and the Aranda people in the Northern Territory of Alice Springs. So I do want to pay my respects to those communities and other Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander and First Nations people all across the country. And not only that, I want to welcome other First Nations people from across the world that call Ghana country home. I extend a warm welcome to you on behalf of my people and my family. And I hope your journey across, your lifetime here in country is a good one and you have a great time here. Also, this part of the country that we're standing on, Adelaide, as we call it, the traditional name in the Ghana language is Tauranga, which translates to the dreaming place of the big red kangaroo, as the big red kangaroo is a totem for the Ghana people. So I do want to acknowledge this place. And if you go into Victoria Square, you'll see that it's actually in the shape of a Ghana shield. So Victoria Square was actually a very cultural site for us over the years. So I do want to acknowledge that as well. And before I get out of here, I want to teach you two words. The first one is just Nachalia. That just means thank you. So I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to be here to showcase a bit of my language and culture for you and welcome you on behalf of my family and the Ghana people. And we don't have a word for goodbye in our culture. That's a bit too final. We believe we're going to see each other whether it's in this life or the next. So the word we use for that is nakara. So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my family, elders past, present and emerging, and the wider Ghana community, I say Nachalia, nakara, and welcome to country. Thank you very much.
Nichalia, thank you very much for your welcome to country. And with that being said, our First Nations people are the original orators of this nation. And tonight is all about telling our stories through an orative piece with the panellists that you are fortunate to meet tonight. But before we get into the housekeeping and formalities, I also want to acknowledge this place that we are in as well. And I want to acknowledge the LGBTIQ activists globally because we are in a queer space that is inclusive and safe. And I want to do a warm welcome because everything that we do tonight, everything that we do tonight is really around inclusivity and how we are inclusive within ourselves, but also within the relationships and intimacy that we are deeply craving. And I'd like to celebrate the spirit of that inclusivity and pay tribute to the incredible activists who have paved the way for the rights and visibility of the LGBTIQ plus community worldwide, and acknowledge the remarkable work that the activists and allies who have tirelessly fought for equality, love and acceptance. So I'd like to also say thank you to the venue host, my lover Cindy, for creating a safe and inclusive queer space. Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge a special guest tonight, which is a Feros Care executive, Jo Field. She's the executive manager for the disability and community development space. So can we give a quick thank you and support to Jo? She's just put her hand up. Thank you, Jo, for coming. And also just to let you know that for the housekeeping purposes, we've got toilets right at the back, unisex toilets. And then in case of emergency, I should have actually asked this, we go out to the front. Can someone just nod to say yes? Beautiful. And just follow the person that will take you out to the front. And we also have our amazing Auslan interpreters, Heather and Glenn. So give them a round of applause because they're going to do some nice, tough work for the next hour or so with multiple people speaking. Okay, and so as your host, we'll just go through a quick agenda of what's expected so that you're all clear about what's about to go down. So after the formalities and introduction, we're going to go through a 30-minute panel discussion, and I'll invite the panellists to come up. We'll then follow that with a 15-minute QA discussion, and this is the audience's opportunity to talk with the panellists and ask any questions based on the things that they have said throughout the panelist session. And then the event will end, and we encourage everyone to come together, mingle, to discuss, because this is quite an amazing topic, and I'm so privileged to actually be a part of this. If any of you are going to take photos tonight, there is an event hashtag. So there is 2 hashtags. The first hashtag is FC Love Without Limits. And if you can't remember that, just tell me to repeat that. And the second one is hashtag Feros Cares About Love. So they're 2 quite long hashtags. I don't know who came up with that, but that's fine. But if you have any questions, I'm sure there's someone from Feros Care and LAC that would be able to assist you with that. So please hashtag that, because then that can be used in the media marketing collateral as well. Okay, so why are we here and what are the desired outcomes for the event tonight? The first one is for people with disabilities to talk about relationships and intimacy. And it's also to give the people that love these people, the carers and the people that work with you, to actually start opening up such an important topic that is still seen to be very taboo and shameful. And one of the main reasons why I've been invited to MC is because I absolutely love talking about shameful topics. And it's not because I thrive off it, but I think that with the work that I do, even in the People and Performance Specialist Advisory Services with PVW accountants and advisors, is that even though this is a topic that you wouldn't normally see go into the workforce when we're working with teams and leaders, it is about difficult conversations. That is at the heart of everything that I do. And so when we come together as an audience and as a panelist, we're all invited to actually think about, why is this actually still a really difficult conversation, and why are we not giving people with disability the opportunity to actually express what they truly want and to experience when it comes to relationships, and essentially the ability to feel like you belong within yourself and within the desired partnerships. One of the biggest things that I am an absolute advocate for is the power of storytelling, and this is exactly why we have 5 amazing... we actually had a panellist that had to leave, had a family member that was unwell. So we now have 4 panellists, but we have 4 amazing panellists that are coming up tonight to tell you a story from their lived experiences, from what they've seen. And there is so much power when we tell our truth and we tell it with authenticity. And so I invite the audience, you are essential to the next hour and a bit of this conversation piece. Because with the power of storytelling is also inviting you as an audience to actually become present with yourself. And so when the panelists say their truth and tell their truth, you don't have to agree with it. That is absolutely fine. The power of storytelling is to give you a different insight to a different perspective, and to see if that fits with you, and if it doesn't, that's okay. But I think the biggest thing when we talk about culture change and culture shifting is we need to be invited to different perspectives in order to make something even better. So you as an audience are actually as a part of this piece tonight. You don't have to say anything, but I invite the audience also to be present, to feel anything that may come up when it comes to the conversation of intimacy, relationships, sexuality, and disability. And thirdly, people with disability, from the work that I've done in sex education, are still not being recognised as sexual human beings. It is really the heart of a lot of the stuff that I am seeing and a lot of the things that I am working in. And so we and everyone here and everyone in this world are all sexual human beings. And so let's get back to the basics. What are we even talking about? So I looked up the definition that SECO used, which is an amazing organisation in Western Australia on disability and sexuality. Please search them up to learn more if you don't know who they are. So it's SECA, SECCA.org. And I want to just tell you in the most basic form what sexuality is so that we can all be on the same page tonight. So sexuality is who you feel attracted to and also how you feel about yourself. Sexuality is related to your sense of self and your relationships with others. It is not just about who you have sex with or want to have sex with. It involves self-expression, fantasies, desires, and a lot more than that. And in a nutshell, it's really about how do we bring up ourselves to our relationships? How do we want to belong and connect with ourselves and with other people? And so the final point is we can't talk about culture shifting if we only talk about the risk. And a lot of the things that I see, particularly in sex education, is that we're only talking about the risk of relationships, and it categorizes us into this box of that's all we're going to experience. But pleasure is paramount to the culture shift. And so the nuances and what the panelists will also invite you is that they may talk about things that bring up pleasure in their life and that might make you feel uncomfortable. And so I invite you to really look in and go, well, why does this make me uncomfortable? Doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just is. And so I would also like to acknowledge that I am an able-bodied person, first and foremost. And so I bring a privilege to the stage. And so I have a responsibility as the host to identify if I get nuances wrong, and I invite the panelists and also the audience to call it out because this is inclusive and this is respectful. And as part of my privilege, I am determined to not get it wrong, but I am human and I might f*** up. So I do invite the panelists and also the audience members just to do a quick call out, just to pull me up on that. And lastly, one of the things and one of the main reasons why I'm quite passionate about this topic around disability and intimacy as an able-bodied person was because I actually obviously never thought about it. And when I went to Curtin University studying sexology, I read a literature review piece, and there was one thing that really stuck out in one of the pieces, and I want to quickly read it to you. And it was by Alexander and Gozmez in 2017. And it just had never thought about it because of the fact that I am an able-bodied privileged person. And it said, if a group of women without disabilities found it difficult to prioritise their own pleasure, where does this leave people with intellectual disabilities who may be dependent on others to introduce them to pleasure? So my take is that nobody is liberated unless we all are. And I have a responsibility to ensure that when I do my sex education or when I go out and do workforce and leadership development, that I am inclusive as possible to everything that I do, but I also admit when I get wrong. And that was probably one of the biggest pieces that I learnt in my study and my course. So the group guidelines, and why do we have group guidelines for an event? anything that comes with relationships, sexuality, intimacy, we need to create some boundaries. And these boundaries are there to keep all of you safe. And it's also, as a host, to keep me accountable. So the first group guideline is obviously with filming of the event. So there was consent forms signed, but if anyone didn't consent, they have a little green tag, I believe, and they're positioned in a space where you essentially can't be filmed. But the media marketing team will ensure that you are not visually in anything. For the panelists, but then also for the audience, because there's a two-way reciprocal relationship between the two tonight, you have the right to pass. And I know the panelists have already seen the questions, but you have the right to pass midway, at the start, at the end. It's all about consent. So if you're not comfortable engaging in an activity or a conversation or a question, you have the right to pass. Can we please ensure that all phones are on silent for the next hour or so, just to make sure that we are engaged and we are actively listening? So please just double check. If your phone does go off, it's all right. We won't hold it against you. We might do a few little stares, but it's okay. But just please double check that it's on silent. And I also need to do a trigger warning, because a trigger warning, anything with relationships and intimacy and sexuality does come with trauma. And we know statistically, and we're not going to hide behind it, is that people with disability are disproportionately higher in experiencing relationship and sexual violence. This is a fact, and we can't hide from it. So if anyone is feeling like they're having a trigger and they need to disassociate, we do have two LAC officers, Takara and Michael, who are here to support you, but we also have in the gift bags additional resources to support you with any services if you need and require, if anything does come up. With the QA recommendations at the end of the session, we do suggest that if you have any specific questions relating to specific NDIS servicing, preferably to just refer that to your LAC, because we just want to, when it comes to specific questions, it might not be suitable for the QA session. And the last two things is around listen to your body and emotions throughout the duration of the event, and respect differing opinions. I've been in really tense situations when it comes to workforce development and leadership sessions, and some of the greatest things that have come out of it has been through difficult conversations, but people sitting with the emotions that arise. So this is also, in some respects, a bit of mindfulness and presence in your our journey here with us, but be curious and listen and feel what is coming up for you. And maybe ask yourself, why is this actually, why am I feeling joy, or why am I feeling what I feel? It's absolutely fine. And I think we've gone through all the group guidelines. Have I missed out any that probably should be added from the audience? Have fun. And have fun. Okay. Wow, I got really serious there. I was like, so sorry. I am nervous, but it's I just want to make that a known fact. It doesn't matter how many times I've done this, it's still always nerve-wracking. But I also really give a about this conversation. So thank you so much for breaking that. You cracked me. I'm fine. Okay. So in saying that, let's have some fun. So we're going to do a bit of a group warm-up. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do a bit of a group warm-up, and this isn't something, you don't have to participate at all, but I need to get you warmed up before the panelists come up, and it's about conversations. This is all about conversations. So we're going to start off with an easy question, and then a specific topic-related question. So I want you to turn to the person next to you, because it's usually somebody you know, and you're probably more comfortable talking to the person you know. And if you don't, that's okay. That's probably some magic can happen there as well. So, and if you see anyone standing by themselves, please go and join them, or you don't have to. I'm happy for you not to engage. But I'm going to ask you a first question. And the first question is, and it's probably going to be funny because you already know this person, is introduce yourself to that person. And then second, 2 words to describe how you feel in this present moment. You only have 30 seconds max between the two of you. Go. High five. Amazing. So what were some of the things that people were feeling? You can just yell it out if you feel comfortable. Curious. Beautiful. Anyone else? Excited. Love it. Anyone else want to share? Interested. Beautiful. So we got curious, excited, and interested. They're probably 3 words that I was hoping for, so thank you very much. I'll pay you later. Okay, so that was the easy questions. This isn't actually hard. The second one is because we're talking about relationships, sexuality, and intimacy. I'm now going to give you 2 minutes in your pair with the person that you were talking with to list, and we'll turn it into a bit of a game. I'll give you 2 minutes, and if you can count how many places, things, people where you have learnt about sex and relationships. So all the places, people, things where you have learnt about relationships. And I want to know how many you can come up with. So I think the highest that I've done when I've done this is about, in 2 minutes, was 45. So if anyone can beat 45, then you're pretty good. So I'll give you 2 minutes, or I might even give you 90 seconds, depending on how I'm feeling, and then we'll go. So when I say go, you can then start the countdown. And go. So how many did we come up with? Can anyone just yell out a number?
9.
9? Can anyone beat 9? 20. Can anyone beat 20? Okay, can I invite you to come up to tell me what the 20 is? You don't have to. Yeah, let's give her a round of applause. The unofficial panelist.
Okay, all right. We'll see if we can remember. Yeah. All right. We're going with school, friends, Tinder. I'm going to steal Ellen's. Dolly Doctor. Yeah. Music, YouTube, past relationships, social media, work, uni. 10. Oh no, we're only halfway through. We did have too many.
We were on a roll at the time.
I know, we were going for it. Now it's hard. Did we say past relationships? Did we say work? Yeah, all past relationships, friendships. Did we say Tinder?
Oh.
Tinder. TikTok. We said that. Thank you. Twitter, why not? We'll add that. It's 21. We had more.
Oh no, we're on stage now. The light is on us.
I know. Family, yes, parents. And we work for a disability organisation, so our clients as well, we learn so much from our clients and their families. I did say the animal kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah, we went a little bit rogue.
Yeah, anyone else want to share anything else while we're here? Porn. Yeah, why not? Yeah. TV, yes. Radio, did we say
Radio,
that?
yes. Triple J.
YouTube. Yes.
Yes.
Games, absolutely.
Absolutely, games.
I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot from my teenage daughters. It's very different types of comics. Another one? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's 20. Yeah.
I think
Beautiful. And did anyone have anything else that they hadn't said? Did you mention any? So we had support workers and staff. Anyone else? Magazines, Dolly Doctor. My goodness, I remember that. And even in the Cosmo section where you'd like rip it apart, you're like, pardon? Mills and Boons, yes, absolutely. And magazines as well. Yes. So that is an example, and I use that in a lot of the sex education with adults, mostly. I do it obviously with young people, but adults, because a lot of adults didn't get the sex education that they deserved when they were younger. And so a lot of us, and I use this analogy, is we're all going to a country for the first time, and we've got to learn the nuances, we've got to learn the language, we've got to learn the maps and the directions of where to go. This is what relationships are, but on steroids. It is different with everyone. But it's about also knowing what is your relationship to sex and intimacy is first and foremost and paramount. So thank you very much to everyone for engaging in a very simple and easy exercise. That was great. And it's also great just to hear laughter. And sometimes it's great when people don't even talk about it, but it's just more so just in the coming together of a collective, because some of you know each other and then some of you don't. And that's really about the conversation and exercise around that. Okay, so without further ado, we're now up to the panel discussion. And I want to introduce, the panelists are actually going to introduce themselves, which I actually love. Yeah, I doubt that. I mean, well, you definitely don't have to do it, and I can do it for you. So I want to be able to bring up the panelists for this session. So as I said, we now have 4 panelists, and they are going to introduce themselves, which is really cool. Which I think is more of an empowering step than, say, the host doing it. And so, without further ado, can I please get a round of applause for our following panellists? Can I introduce Khadija, Lauren, Sharina, and Sengo? Okay, so we've got 2 microphones, but I'm happy to... Okay, so the panelists have been given, they've been privy to the questions that are that will be asked tonight. But as I said before, if any of the panelists don't feel comfortable answering the question, then please don't answer the question. Okay, so I want to start off with Khadija and Lauren. Oh, sorry, is the light?
Sorry, if I turn this way, because the light is really it's right on me.
Okay. I'll start with Khadija and Lauren around the first question, because you actually both have identified that this is one of your preferred questions to answer. And probably one of the main reasons I put this one first is because it's universal. Okay, so the first question to Khadija. Communication plays a key role in any relationship. How do you communicate your desires, needs, and boundaries to...
Nobody's asking about you, Milo.
This isn't about you, Milo. Okay, do you want me to repeat that question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, because I'm like, I got off track there. Okay. Communication plays a key role in any relationship. So how do you communicate your desires, needs, and boundaries to your partner?
Oh, that's easy. For me, I think the first priority in any relationship or intimacy, I think, is the one you have with yourself. And I think too often we look outward. So right before I even have a partner, my time, I'm the first love of my own life, and my own self-discovery is the priority. And having spent a lot of time prioritizing me knowing thyself, so that I can then communicate to the other person what I need and want. Because I think too often we look to other people maybe to show us what we like or don't like or what we want. And I think when you're a person with disability, that opens up a lot of safety concerns. I know my body. I understand my needs, and I know how my body works. And given that it doesn't operate in the normal, traditional sense, I won't say normal, I'm very normal, not in the traditional sense, there's an extra pressure to ensure I am very clear in what I like, don't like, what my boundaries are, what my safety nets are, what my limits are, what are my negotiables are and non-negotiable. I see it as a very autistic person who likes systems, likes to understand things, and likes clarity, because I don't like confusion. So when I then enter into a relationship, and very often I don't want to, and the reason for that is I like myself, I like my time, I know what I like, and I get there. Why then go struggle with somebody to teach and give a manual, and there's no guarantee of the outcome, and I have to talk to them, and I have to hug them.
Okay,
and
so
I
you
have to
definitely
be
like
their
control.
ego. No, not control at all. I just want a guaranteed outcome.
Okay.
I'm a woman who wants to bank on a guaranteed outcome. I don't have time for nothing else. That's all I'm saying.
And can I just add to that, Keesha, that it is absolutely, then this is paramount in any education piece, is that you actually, in order to receive pleasure, you actually need to know how to give yourself pleasure first and foremost, which is what you've highlighted. Yeah. And even with that small exercise about where you learnt about relationships and sexuality, if you don't talk about these things with people around you, and you're learning, say, from porn, or you're learning from something where there's no real education and constructive dialogue, then you're kind of thinking that that's just the norm and the status quo, but actually it probably isn't, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is why the self-exploration piece that you've identified is so paramount. So
And it also allowed me to normalize that what I like or however I choose to present myself or demand, it's actually my normal and my normal is valid rather than in comparison to another person. Because that's dangerous. We're all unique, every single one of us, whether you're disabled or not disabled, and the way our bodies all operate is different. I mean, some days you wake up on one side of the bed and your body does some up shit, then the next day you wake up on the other side and your body's doing something completely different. Then you add another in the mix, and all of a sudden it gets very confusing. I'm just saying it gets very messy, and there's a lot of needs and wants and who wants what. It's like, okay, let's get down to business, shall we? And that may sound a lot very, I don't know, almost take the romance out of things. And I think even with consent, people talk about the sexiness. It doesn't have to be sexy. This is not about sexy. It's about practicality. It's about safety. It's about complete clarity, because we know we live in a world where consent has become this battleground, and too many people are trying to, find some weak spot and wiggle in the room. There's no wiggling in any of that. I want to ensure both parties at all times understand what are we doing, why are we doing it, and what are the limits of this, and how do we say no and opt out if we don't want to, because you can like somebody and you can enjoy your time with them. And as a neurodivergent person, I don't always want to feel like something has to go somewhere. Sometimes I just want to be present in that moment in whatever form it is without anything else. And most often people who are non-neurotypical, neurodiverse themselves or not disabled, they don't always understand that. Like it's something as simple as I want to hold hands, but my hand hurts. I want to cuddle, oh, now I'm too hot. Let's do the knees and the beats, or I just can't. I've given up on life. There's a challenge. And what I want is understanding and the ability to be able to be in control of myself and what I need, and have a safe space to say, yeah, no, or, you know what, I want to be alone. Thank you very much, with my chargeable device that does not talk back and does not want to order food. And we don't have to spend 1 hour arguing about food.
okay, fair call, fair
It
call.
doesn't talk back. Who doesn't want that? Doesn't
Thank
want
you.
anything from me either.
Lauren, how would you like to elaborate from your own experience around this?
I completely agree with what you said as well. And to highlight, I think, the importance of like knowing who you are as well before you can, actually dive into those sorts of conversations or be with someone as well. After an accident that I was involved in 5 years ago, not only did I have to go through physical like rehabilitation and recovery, but I had to go through like mental and emotional recovery, in the sense that I completely didn't know who I was anymore. And when I describe it to people, it's like, that, is it the nursery rhyme, Humpty Dumpty? Like after his great fall, and like people had to put, he couldn't put himself back together again. That's how I felt. And it was almost like I would say that I looked the same, but I was hollow on the inside. And I had to really pick myself up from the ground again and work out who I was. And at the time of this, I was in a 6-year-long relationship with someone who was, wanting me to connect with him. But how could I do that when I was so completely disconnected with myself? So I really, really struggled, and our relationship did struggle. And when I took that time to connect with myself, I was able to then, unfortunately, that relationship break down after my accident. But with taking some time for myself, I found myself in a new positive and supportive relationship. And when you're in that space, you do feel comfortable to open up and have those sorts of questions. But I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't do the work internally and build myself up from the ground again, both inside and outside, to be able to be in that space to connect with somebody else. Because, you can't connect with somebody else if you are disconnected from yourself. So that was my main priority, and then just being in a supportive environment where you can open up about those sorts of things. I'm not going to intimately connect with someone who I can't, openly be myself and feel like I can have, private and, emotional and personal conversations with. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And what was that transition piece? Because you mentioned about that feeling hollow. What was that transition piece where you realised that actually not the magic bullet or the magic ratio here, but was that you actually needed to look within rather than to look externally. What was that moment for you? When did that, or did that happen over a period of time? Can you explain that?
It did happen over a period of time looking back. And I think looking back, I was so unaware that I was doing it, but I was putting a lot of pressure on the people around me externally to fill myself up. So I was relying on people to, make me feel whole again. And when that was failing, and to be honest, I wasn't able to work. I was literally not able to do any of the things that made me who I was. But everyone around me was still living their life. They tried. They could be there for me as much as they could, but it was almost as if I was stopping them from doing the things that they loved, and their work or pursuing their goals, because I was trying to hold on so tight to the only thing that I had in my life left, that was connecting me to my old self and my old Lauren. And that's scary, because I thought that if I cut that cord, what was left with in my life that was going to connect me back to who I was before. And I think over time I tried to overcome that fear, and it wasn't easy. And I don't think there was, I can't list 3 things that I did this and this and this. It did come with time. It came with healing. It came with psychology. It came with all those sorts of therapies, and looking after myself and prioritizing my own well-being over pleasing other people. That's when I started to make that switch. I was relying so much externally versus what I needed to do internally. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that definitely answered my question. And I think, thank you.
I forgot the question by the end, so I was like, I'll just keep talking.
No, but that's where the magic happens, when you forget the question and you're like, I'm going for this. But I also highlight that piece around the internal work. It takes a community and it takes a wraparound support. And we hear a lot about it, particularly if anyone is in the sector, in the space. It takes a village to raise somebody up. And particularly when you speak about your experience, it's not just a silo, one-off piece. It is a wraparound community support piece. So thank you very much for sharing that. I all want to move over to Sharina. Sharina, what advice would you give to other individuals with disabilities who may be hesitant or facing challenges in pursuing relationships?
Okay. Sorry. I'd have to agree with these 2 beautiful ladies here. I think a lot of it comes down to self-care for yourself. Coming from my own experience, I, within myself, couldn't pursue any relationships until I loved myself. I couldn't allow someone else to love me if I wasn't happy within myself. And that meant very different elements, body-wise, self-esteem, self-confidence. On the outside, I've always been told I'm a very confident person, but within myself, I had my own unconscious biases without realising. I think it took a lot of self-healing. A bit of a background, I've got osteogenesis imperfecta, so I've got brittle bone disease. So growing up, it was constant, medical attention, constant hospital trips. Growing up, I watched my parents break down. My family split up. My brothers became very angry as we got older. So I think I put a lot of guilt on myself, thinking, okay, this is all my fault. I'm not worthy. I broke my family up. So there was a lot of what's the word? A lot of thoughts going through my head at a young age, and it obviously develops as you get older. You start understanding a little bit more. So I think trauma is a massive part in mental health. It takes a toll on you. And it's so easy. We can think of something negative. We can have a good day. And then when we have a bad day, it just overpowers. So then you got to build yourself back up. So, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I have a lot of good days. I have a lot of bad days. But when you have those bad days, it's just like this big black cloud over your head. and it's hard to remember the positive days. So I think self-care, if I'm honest, and just really exploring yourself, either that be, intimacy-wise, sex-wise, personality-wise, whatever makes you happy, I think you just really need to build on your self-worth, and that we are worthy, people with disability, people without disability. It's funny because when I look back at things, we all actually go through very similar experiences, but just different elements, different pathways. Either, like I said, a person with a disability, a person without a disability, we all go through life challenges, and everyone's pretty similar in their own ways, and we just don't realise. Culture, disability, gender, sex, you name it, we're all pretty similar. And it's sad that sometimes society doesn't see that. And we found within ourselves a lot of the time we don't see that either. But definitely, I think self-care and just really recognising that trauma and just reflecting on it. Sometimes it's really hard to reflect on it. I know within myself, a lot of the time I'm very resilient, but it's a good trait, but it's a bad trait at the same time. Sometimes I have to reflect. I have to remind myself that, what I've been through, where I've come from, because as much as it helps me get through the bad days, it's good to, it's just good to reflect on it, because it's just that reminder of where you've come from, and it kind of gives me that fire in my belly to keep pushing through. So yeah, I've kind of done a lot about the question, but yeah.
And I just want to apologise because I just went straight into the questions and I didn't even introduce you.
No, that's okay.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'll just introduce myself.
You can edit this, right? I just got really excited and I was like, let's do it.
No,
So I really want to apologise. So when I ask you the questions, please introduce yourselves because that was really terrible of me. I just did a bit of an effort there. But going back, Sharina, around that self-care piece, but what you're really talking about as well is self-acceptance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And that self-acceptance too, about there are going to be dark days and there are emotions that come up, but isn't that the piece for you? Or do you feel like that's the piece, that's the vulnerability piece of being human?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it took me a long time. My husband's in the background. I'm sure he could agree. It took me a long time to learn to be vulnerable. I think coming from, like, with my condition and my background, my mother and stuff, she was very, I think it was her way of, like, coping mechanism to just, oh, come on, Sharina, get back up. You can do it. Push forward. Keep doing it. So I had that mentality, like, I need to get over this now. I need to go through the next thing. And every time I had a fracture, it was rehabilitation, and then it was getting back on your feet, and then it was back to reality, and then another fracture would happen and be back to square one. So I continuously had that, rehabilitation kind of mentality, like, and then you're kind of waiting for the next fracture to happen or the next surgery to happen. So it was constant. You'd go 10 steps, step forward, 10 steps back. Well, a roll forward and 10 rolls back. But yeah, so just... yeah, that was the hardest part, trying to keep myself mentally prepared to go through another surgery, fracture, whatever it was going to be. But I think I found it hard to be vulnerable because I knew if I was hurting, my mum was hurting. Sorry, I don't want to get emotional talking about my mum. But yeah, she's been my rock. But so I think it's because of the people close to you, it's hard to show your emotions because, you're hurting other people, not intentionally, but you're trying to be strong for someone else, but sometimes you just need someone to be strong for you. So.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I'm going to move over to Sango. I feel like you thought you could get away with not even having a question. Quietly sitting at the end. So, Sango, first, obviously, introduce yourself because I've done a poor job of doing that with the other panellists. I apologise. And then I will quickly ask you a question after that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sango Musa. I come from Congo. I haven't been here for 4 years. So I'm the leadership in my Congolese community, like support coordinator from my project, Culturally Connected in Disability. So I'm the one living with disability. I'm carrying some membership from my community to try to break stigma and shame and to grow up our skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Sango. So, Sengo, as a disability champion and a business owner and a philanthropist and an emerging leader, what stigma would you like to break when it comes to relationships for people with a disability?
Yeah, if we're talking about stigma, the people doesn't live with disability, when they see us, they don't take us like a human being. They take us like a different people. They can treat us like animals because they saw something wrong behind us. So to improve them like we are human being, we need to show up. We need to improve them that we can do this. Example, if you have technology to use computer, to play music, to do another different work, just be close with executive of your communities. So if you go there and tell them, I can do this, and then they approach you like human being, I think that way it will make you be feeling strong and share your experience for another people. Like example, I can say on this stage here, why I'm here. Because I believe myself, I know I live with disability. Why Congolese community chose me to be here. Why First Care called me to come to share my experience, because I believe myself. And then my communities believe me, supporting me. And then they send me saying, go to share your experience and tell them the truth. So like the one who organized this event, I can say I really appreciate it, because this is social media. I'm in front of people, they don't know me, I don't know them, but we're trying to make connection. And that connection, it will improve us people living with disability and give us another chance or opportunity to go to another step, to show another people who don't know us that we can do this. Because I can say we have NDIS, First Care, there are some service they're giving us people living with disability. But the membership from our community, they don't think that they can help us. How government can help us, and then the back around, they don't support us. It's like nothing. So we need to improve them, that the government giving us service, giving us some money. So you people, what can I do for us? Just be close of us. Listen for us. Approach us. And then give us like to be the leadership part of the executive in our community. If you do that, I think for another communities or another people, they can say, wow, the people living with disability, they can do many things. I think on that way, we can try to break stigma and shame. Because I believe it's no me called Musa Champion. That name come from MCCSA. That the one giving that name, because we haven't worked on that project for 3 years. So I was volunteers for free. I just go visit the people, some families who have the kid living with disability like me, to watch them, to ask them which kind of service they can support their kid, which kind of support you can support some people living with disability in your families. So don't leave them alone, because like me, if I'm your kid, so you saw me, I'm just alone, and then you live like that. That means that person is not happy. If you calling him to join another things, another activity, he can feel happy. So many communities doesn't do that. So what kind of way we can do is social media, to use people with disability to speak, to tell them the truth. That can try to reduce stigma, because we can't go straight to break stigma. We can try to reduce first. After we reduce, that means we can go to break that stigma and shame.
Thank you. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. What I wanted to add to that around stigma is also the fact that people who are disabled tend to be infanticized. Oh, don't always pronounce that word properly, but you know what I mean. Get to be infanticized. Or if we're not infanticized and treated like children, we're asexual. It's an assumption. There are people who identify as being asexual. I myself am demisexual. But the assumption and that broad stroke, somehow devoid of sexuality, which is wrong. Everyone has sexuality. You said that. WHO says sexuality is a human need at the end of the day. But that assumption, which is then perpetrated in action, you're not allowed to. Or women to be pure and cute. Then when you introduce your partner, oh, wow, that's just wrong. You're wrong for existing, sorry. But it's a contradiction. We're either pure and need to stay cute, or we're asexual, we're not meant to have sex, we don't want sex. They have no interest in sex, so why is anyone talking about sex? Or we're like children. But if you're a black person, guess what? You get hypersexualized, on the other hand. Or within our communities, we're seen as being possessed by the devil, or our families may have done something. I remember growing up, my mom being told, you must have done or committed some sin or crime. That's why your daughter is this way. So forget all the opportunities, forget anything. You must have done something. That's inherit something wrong and evil must have taken place for you to be this way. So then comes the looks and the what has happened, what did you do to deserve this, or what bad thing did you do? You can't actually win whatever the context may be. I mean, we're talking about whether it's gender, whether it's sexuality, or whether it's culture or neurotype. They're complexities, but each very valid. And then when you bring all of that in an intersectional mode, like in myself, a demisexual, pansexual, disabled, non-binary, I don't even know what the rest of the is that I identify with. I'm just exhausted half the time. But then put that in a sexual context, like what is happening? It's all happening somehow. But to me, I think it's that stigma still, though, in how other people perceive what we are deserving of or how we should behave so they are comfortable. It's not about us. It's about them being comfortable. It's like, but that's not our job to make you comfortable. That's right.
Yeah, go for it.
Of course, yeah. For me, one of the biggest stigmas that I've probably come across, and it was, I don't know if it was externally or I've just brought it on myself. But when my relationship broke down, when I was getting ready to start dating again, there was just a little voice inside my head that was, I live with a brain injury. Just out of context, 5 years ago, I was involved in a workplace accident. And yeah, I spent the last 5 years going through rehabilitation and recovery, and now I live with a traumatic brain injury. So it's completely changed the course of my life. And when I was trying to start dating again, I just had this little voice in my head, like, who would take me on? Like, it was just almost to feel like I was going to be a burden to other people, because I saw how hard it was for my ex-partner. I saw my family and my close friends. I saw how hard it had been on them. Like, how am I supposed to put myself out there and like just disregard a big part of my life and my identity now? It was almost like, do I tell people? Do I not tell people? It was like I was going for a job interview, and you sit there and it's, you kind of have to fake your way through, and you say, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at that, even though I'm really shit. But you have to talk yourself up and fake it till you make it. It was almost like a first date was, I'm going for a job interview, I'm going to fake it till I make it. And it was almost, the question in my head was, when do I disclose that I have accessibility needs? And that's how dating felt. And I don't know if it was me, because my my boyfriend now never once made me feel like that. So I do think it was a lot of it was coming from me, but also, a stigma and, unconscious bias and assumptions and attitudes that, the disability community face on a day-to-day basis definitely played a big part in it. But yeah, as, a person with a brain injury, someone in the disability community starting to date and wanting to put yourself out there, I was really worried about being a burden on other people, and I think that can stop a lot of people, and it definitely stopped me for a while. Yeah.
Thank you. And sorry, just before it goes to Sharina, because I need to summarize everything that's been said, and there was a lot that was just said there, and I've done a few notes. But going back to what she says, Sengo, is around the dehumanization piece and the stigma around the fact that if we don't address this because we are too busy dehumanizing people with a disability to even service properly or even to recognize in relationships, we can't actually effectively relate and connect with other people, let alone with ourselves. And I think about this this saying is that people don't remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel. And that's the first thing that came up in that saying when I was listening to you talk about stigma. Secondly, we talk about intersectionality because it's not just disability, it is so many nuances that come with it. And so you've beautifully spoken about it is just not as simple as slapping a label on and saying, I am asexual and I'm disabled and this is it, this is my corner. Because we know as being sexual human beings, you are so much more than that. And it folds and changes over time and through the lifespan. And so you've articulated in very simplistic terms, but then also in very complex ways, just how intersectional a lot of the lived experiences have been for yourself as well. So thank you for that. So I'll pass over to Sharina to add to the...
I just wanted to add something to the stigma. So I think when it comes to stigma, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the question was how could we break that stigma? Yep. I think sometimes it's really easy for us to fall into this negative mind frame. I think we could all agree to that. And we all know society has stigma around people with disability. We see it every day, unfortunately. I think the way that it can be broken eventually is educating. Now that can be really hard to do sometimes. Sometimes I get into a state where I don't want to educate people. I just want to be able to go to the shops, not be stared at, not looked at like I'm some form of alien, but just ignore. But sometimes it's just not, unfortunately, the right way to react. And I'll give an example. A lot of the time people stare at me when I'm at the shops and I'm pushing a pram, like, oh, how dare she have a child? That means she had sex, because that's where children came from. But yeah, so sometimes you can see people probably automatically assume, oh, surely that's not her child, or if my husband's pushing our son, highly doubt I'm the wife and the mother of the child. But I think for me, it's learning how to educate, and it's not always, for me personally, it's not always a healthy way. I have a tendency of getting angry and frustrated, so I don't exactly come out politely and educate, but which is wrong, because when I come out and angrily educate, I'm basically encouraging that bias, like, oh, she's crazy, or something's wrong with her. I think if we educate, let me rephrase that. It's like looking at, you look at school teachers and students. For us, we're the teachers, and people without disability are the students. And an example I'd just like to share is, you look at children, they're so innocent. And a lot of the time, I hear so many times, oh, mummy, daddy, why is she so small? And they don't understand. But as a parent now, I watch a lot, not what the child has said, but I watch how the parent reacts. They're adults. And look, they don't intentionally ignore it. I think a lot of the time it comes from that uncomfortability of having that conversation with a child, because how do you explain that to a child? But you don't have to go into full context of a child, but I believe that it starts at a young age, and it can start there. It can be as simple as, getting down at your child's level and having that conversation. And there's actually been times where a parent has apologised to me. Like a child would be like, "Oh, why is she so small?" And the parent will say, "I'm so sorry." And they'll, like, I've seen them physically pull their child and be like, "Oh, I'm going to smack you when you get home." And I couldn't help but stop and be like, "Hey, that's not the right approach. Do you mind if I explain to your child?" And there's been times where a parent has actually pulled me aside and be like, "You know what? I can admit that was really uncomfortable for me, but thank you, because I now know how to approach that next time if my child says that." Because at a young age, when we have parents pulling their child and be like, no, that's embedding, no, that don't look, don't socialise, don't react, don't look, don't socialise. And it embeds. And then as they get older, and you see it in school, bullying, all sorts of it. And I think that's where the stigma starts, personally. But yeah, I just think it's really important that, as much as it's hard for us sometimes to educate, and I know it's hard sometimes, like I said, I can get in that mindset where I just don't want to. And, I'd be lying if I say sometimes it stops me from going out. It definitely stops me from going out sometimes. But I have to remind myself I'm the teacher, and if I want to make a difference, it needs to start with me.
Thank you, Sharina. And I think it's important to, you've all mentioned education in some shape or form within your responses. And when we talk about stigma in particular, stigma thrives when you don't talk about it. And so, particularly for the allies in the room tonight, in particular, including myself, we have a responsibility to actually start this conversation, because if we don't, we're going to have people who will continue to say no and not actually explain the no piece, and to continue to stare and not actually understand actually how does that impact the person that you're looking at. And so education starts with everybody, and you don't need to have a disability to actually start a conversation because you've got a mouth. So I think that's really important to highlight, because in the plainest form, stigma thrives when you don't talk about it. Okay, so I want to ask, because this is actually off the cuff, this question, because what really, if we strip it back even further, there's this discomfort conversation piece. And I want to ask you all individually, and if you don't want to answer it, that's fine, is what has been an uncomfortable conversation that you've either had with yourself or with somebody that you love when it comes to your relationship to yourself? Because you've referred a lot back to yourself, and I actually want to stick with that because there's a lot of power and truth in that. So what's been an uncomfortable conversation that you've had about your relationship with yourself? And just choose one, because I think we could be here all night if we had the choice to choose more than that. Just one uncomfortable conversation that you've had with yourself that will resonate with people in the audience, and obviously when this is filmed later. Well, the recording after. I open this up.
An uncomfortable conversation with myself. If I'm honest, I think an uncomfortable conversation I've probably had myself is thinking of society's unconscious bias. Is it their unconscious bias or is it mine? Yeah. So the thoughts I'm having in my head, is it really what I think other people are thinking, or is it what I think of myself? And is that something I need to work on? Where is that coming from? So I'm constantly having that battle with myself. It's not all the time. Sometimes I can feel like I'm the most confident woman on the earth, but there's a lot of times where I'm not so confident and I don't like showing it. And I think it shows, the people close to me, they might not know what I'm thinking, but it shows in my body language. I'm very frustrated, intense, don't want to be touched, don't want to be looked at, don't talk to me, leave me alone. So it shows in my body language. I won't verbally say what's on my mind, but body language speaks up for me. So I think that's an uncomfortable conversation I have with myself, probably weekly.
Great. Thank you. So what is an uncomfortable conversation that you've had with yourself when it comes to your relationship to yourself? There's a lot of yourselves in this sentence, but it's the internal dialogue, I guess, that we have. And what is that uncomfortable piece around relationships?
I think for mine, it was first acknowledging that I was disabled. That may sound strange, but I was raised not to be disabled or to act disabled or to present as disabled. So an uncomfortable conversation was, what am I then? I knew what my body does. I knew what my limitations were. And I knew there would be challenges in that space. But how do I reconcile that I have not been, I have not been allowed to be this person or to acknowledge all of what that means, let alone then be educated in what the impact of that disability and what to do with it. So it felt like it was all on me once again to raise myself and sit in that ugliness of something is wrong with me. That's why they don't want me to be this way. Something must be wrong with the world that if I appeared disabled, then they would treat me a certain kind of way. Well, what does that then mean in an intimate situation where all the layers are peeled away and intimacy by its very nature comes back to truth? The ability to be truthful of who you are, show up as your authentic self, peel the layers and be naked, not just physically naked, but I'm talking about being naked and open. To do that requires a level of confidence and a level of awareness of oneself and acknowledgement of oneself. Yeah, so I had to sit with the vulnerability of, if my mom doesn't want me to be disabled, but I now acknowledge I am disabled, what does that then mean in the way I present and show up? And I think you said the word before, control. Yes, control then became a center of, for me, how do I want to be treated? How do I want to show up? What do I want to receive? How do I want to treat other people? How do I hold space for their unique journey that's separate from me? So it's two people hopefully coming together who are not perfect, but we can both have truth at the center of whatever the interaction may be. And this is not just intimate partners, friends, it's family. That was uncomfortable because it went back to identity. Who am I? And then who do I want to become? And I think that is part of a broader conversation. Who am I and who do I want to be and how do I want to show up? I think it's a life journey. Even you can be 40, 50, 60, or you're 8 and you're working that out. And it's uncomfortable because you have to acknowledge and sit with the ugliness of the stigma, the messages you have got, and then try to make sense out of that and come out from that place to be what I hopefully feel like somebody who goes into these situations with confidence and an awareness of, I am still growing, my needs will change, my voice will change, what I want or who I am will change, and that's completely okay and valid. If that makes sense.
Lauren or Sengo, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, if you're talking about relationship, for me it's a big issue because that's why I was quiet. Because I didn't born like disability. I had my disability when I was 10 years old. So my mom, everyone was telling her that kick out that boy. So if I remember that situation, they make me feeling bad. They make me join some groups. They make me to go ask someone to be relationship with him, with her, or with him, because when I can join the groups, they kick me out. By the way, because I was believing myself, I just built myself. I say, whatever can kick me out, I can try my best. So when I had 17, my mom, she was telling me, my son, I never saw you are with some girls. Your friends told me you are scared to ask someone to be in a relationship with her. I say, yes, mom. I'm scared to do that. Because when I try one day, but the way she asked me, it was no good way. So, and then I say, why God permit to make me disabled? I'm the one person in the world to be disabled, to live with disabled. On that day, I asked myself many questions. But at the end of the day, I say, okay, that is the world. You can say, or you can fight with someone if she don't love you, or someone doesn't love. Someone doesn't love. So when I leave my family, I went to refugee camp. I tried to ask some girls for some love. So she said, yes, Sengo, we can be in a relationship, but for one condition. And then she asked me, why are you disabled? When she asked me that question, I just ran away. So if you're coming about relationship, I always feeling like I'm in pain. So the one make me be strong, I just focus in my idea. I want to improve that. Many people think like the people living with disability, they can't be in love. If you think like that, that means you think he can't work anything. Why you supporting him? And then I come here, I just follow the strategy or anything happen here, government improve us to support, and then they send some women, girls to come to take you to the appointment, to do this, and I said, oh, this is big different. From my country and here is big different. That means if you ask someone in a relationship, you can say this. And then I try here. When I try, she came to tell me, Sengo, I hear your story. You are hard work. So I can be with you in a relationship. So I was so surprised for that girl to accept me to be in relationship with her. And then I told him all story. I told her all story since I was in Africa. This happened for me, this happened for me. Because I have physical disability, everyone can say it. But many people here have mental health, is disability. So you can work with them, you think like they are fine. But when that disability came, you can run away from them. But the one who have a physical disability, you can run again because you know is outside. And that situation, I learned more things. That's why I try to work hard. To reduce stigma is hard, I know. It is hard and it is difficult because we have different disability. Because you can see here, we are 4 people, but you have different disabled. I didn't think like these 2 girls, they are disabled. But I was thinking about myself because I work with Thika, I'm disabled. So on that situation, I think we can learn more and then we can get more answers. So don't judge someone if you say outside. Think about inside. If we think like that, we can try to reduce stigma.
Thank you. And I think what I love about this question is that it's actually brought out different themes as well, like of what difficult conversations we've had with ourselves. And I really appreciate you bringing that authenticity, because even when you were talking, all 4 of you, I actually was like sitting back, I'm like, damn, that's the realest I've ever heard. So thank you so much for that. Lauren, did you want to add on to the question? Because I know we haven't given you opportunity for this to answer this.
Just briefly then.
Not briefly, it's all good. Go.
to finish off the question, I guess I spent a lot of time in like doctor's appointments or case meetings with 10 specialists in the room, talking about me as if I wasn't there, but I was sitting right there, and they're referring to me, Lauren, Lauren. I'm like, how about it, you ask Lauren? But I got so used to just being silent in a room with people talking about me for me as if I wasn't there, that it does start to corrode your sense of self, your sense of worth, who you are as a person. And I'd already mentioned that I lost myself. I didn't know who I was on the inside, and I feel like that played a really big part. But it did force me to have those sorts of difficult or uncomfortable conversations with myself about the relationship I have with myself. And it was about, well, what do you value now? And what do you want your future to be like? Who do you think you are as a person? What are some good qualities, good traits about you? Because everyone was talking about all the things I couldn't do anymore, all the things I was struggling with. When you hear negativity all the time, it doesn't help your mental health or how you view yourself as a person. So, which then in turn, I guess, you can't connect with other people like we'd already spoken about as well. So I guess that uncomfortable conversation with the relationship I have with myself came about from those sorts of experiences for me.
Thank you. Just mindful of time. How are we going, Takara, with the... We're great. Yeah, beautiful. Great.
Milo, you have something to say?
I think Milo's ready for the nap. And so with that, I want to thank the panelists for answering those questions, but honestly being really authentic and real about your lived experiences. And what you may not realise, and what the beauty of storytelling is that you've probably given somebody in this audience a new vocabulary to an experience that they had and they just didn't have the words to. And the beauty about filming as well is that this will then go out and be edited and refined so that those stories can go out to a wider audience to share. So I want to thank our amazing panelists tonight for sharing their truths, coming to the stage, bring their most authentic selves, and to open up that dialogue piece for the rest of the country who will be able to access this once it's fully edited. So thank you. Can we give a big round of applause to panelists? A wolf whistle, whatever's required. Obviously, we'll... Yep, great. So now I'd like to open it up to the audience. So this is your opportunity to ask the panelists any questions that you might have. We've got Takara walking around with a microphone. So I want to open it up now to anyone in the audience. If you want to ask a question, stand up or put your hand up and she'll come around. Any questions at all? I know you've definitely have to have one out there. Beautiful.
Hi. I'd like to say thank you to everyone. That's been amazing. Your last thing you just said, Lauren, that really hit me about, everyone's talking about me, but, how about you ask me? Are you able to sort of elaborate on that a little bit more around how you took back your autonomy, especially after such a traumatic incident, and how you step back into that?
God, I don't even know. I think that answer really means it definitely didn't happen overnight. I think I just, to be honest, I think I probably just woke up one day in one of those meetings, sitting in a boring old stuffy room with people talking about me, and I think I just said enough's enough. A part of my personality is quite similar to you. I have been always quite a confident person. I have been able to stand up for myself and what I believe in. I did lose a lot of that shortly after my accident, but I think over time those parts of me and parts of my personality started to come back, and once I started to build even a tiny bit of confidence, that confidence level started to grow and grow, and I was able to advocate for myself again. I was lucky that I have a family and really good friends around me that were able to advocate for me. But you do just get sick and tired of other people talking for you. And I think almost it came about one day that I just probably said to myself, enough's enough. And I started to use my advocacy skills that I've always had. And I just started using them to my advantage again. I was not going to let people around me and strangers and specialists, they mean well, but I wasn't going to let those people determine what my future or what my life was going to be like. And I think when they started to have a conversation about what my future was, I kind of took a step back and was like, oh, hold on, who gets to decide that in this room? It's not you, it's me. And I think there was just a few light bulb moments in those sort of settings where I was like, hang on, I need to start advocating for myself. And yeah, that's what I did.
Thank you.
And I think we had a hand up at the back. Yep. Hopefully the cord can make it just.
Hi everyone. It was mentioned earlier about people with a disability being infantilized. What experiences have you had with having to kind of explain, yes, I have a disability, but yes, I do have sexual desires just like anyone else, and how did you broach that topic with people that you love?
First of all, I don't owe anybody that conversation. Because I think too often, and this goes to that education, as I say, it's not our job. It's actually not my job to have to educate or build or make other people understand that it's a goodwill on our part that we do that. And I hate when people have that expectation. Likewise, I hate when people have those conversations where it's not even organic curiosity, it's voyeurism, wanting to know the gruesome detail to then pick on a point of difference in what you have said. Oh, you have sex that way. Oh, wow. Really? That, to me, I'm not interested in that. I have very clear boundaries. For me, it's being able to label those behaviors. So it's the outward, not taking in what this person is trying to give me, but go, hold on a second. That's inappropriate. That's not okay. You're not allowed to ask me. Now, what if I just ask you what happens in your bedroom? Why do you think I owe you what happens in my... We're talking about people's most intimate details. Nobody owes anyone that. It reminds me of the, being part of the LGBTIQ plus A community. People are constantly talking about people's genitals, like it's their business. It's like, it's none of your business. What's between people's pants and their legs? Nothing to do with anyone. I think we have to be mindful that we don't think we are owed this information, we're owed people's vulnerability, we're owed personal information. I'm off for education. I've worked in the sexual health industry for 23 years as an educator and wanting to ensure that people build their own capacity around their sexual health and their rights and other people's rights. But I draw the line at the point where so often, to me, it is so negative. It's that looking into a community and wanting to absorb and take, but not really wanting to sit and learn and be curious in a healthy way, where it's how do I understand your experience, not what your sex life is, what's your experience, how do you experience the world, how can I ensure I'm mindful in my work or in my personal life that I am, intersectional, or I am thinking of other people. For example, I have a child who is disabled himself, and having conversations around, body autonomy and consent and simple basic things like that. I don't do that for him. I do it so I don't waste a That's why I do it. I do it so that he understands there's a point where his rights end and other people's rights begin. And as much as I want to protect him and build him up, I want to ensure when he goes out there, he's not an asshole to other people's kids. So I won't want him to be asking what people's personal sex life will be. I want him to know who they are, what they like, what passions they have, what they want to be. I would think that will matter more than, maybe what battery I put on my sex toys at night. If that makes sense. Yeah. I think too often we take on so much, but I want to say we need boundaries. We don't owe people our personal information. We don't actually owe them that. Yeah, no, we don't. So if somebody is trying to treat me like I'm a child or try to hypersexualize me, I just remember that their labels, their perception doesn't matter. What matters is mine. They are of no relevance to me. But what I want to make sure is they don't go and continue that with somebody else. So I will want to nitpick it right there and say, not today, devil, sit your ass down.
There was a few mic drops in that moment, wasn't it? But a great question nonetheless. And also to bring it back to the fact that difficult conversations usually have two things: high stakes and high emotions. And there is a reason why we avoid these conversation pieces. And so if you're talking about infantilization, I think there's a really good point around the intent. What is the intent of that question? What is the intent? Are they actually there because they genuinely care about me, or they don't? And having, as all four panelists have shown, is this self-acceptance piece, but also having fierce boundaries. Because fierce boundaries comes with that self-acceptance piece. Any other questions?
It's actually more of a comment than a question. I'm thinking about what the history has been for people with intellectual disability and the opportunity to be a partner, a husband, a wife, a father, a mother, and the way that society has taken that away from people with disability, and particularly people with intellectual disability and cognitive impairment, and that we, the history around that is, around how we take away people's reproductive rights through surgery, and now we take away people's reproductive rights through the removal of children from parents. And, these are things that continue today, and they, just what people say to somebody is, why should, it's not okay that you're a parent, rather than what can we do to help you to be a parent and to support you in your parenting. What we say to people is, no, you can't. So we're not even just talking about, not being sexual beings, but, oh my God, you want to have a partner and you want to have a child. Shock horror.
Thank you.
And that comes back to the point, particularly about allies and able-bodied people, particularly when you've got people in support services or in the servicing system that are only thinking about it from an ableist perspective, and how harmful that actually can be. Yeah. Anybody else for any questions? No? Okay, so this actually wraps up the event. I don't know if I've missed anything. I'm sure you'll let me know before I wrap everything up. Oh, we definitely, actually, before we do that, we have gift bags for our panelists, correct? Oh, yes. Yep. So obviously we want to thank everyone on the panel. I'll pass it over to you. Yep. Beautiful.
Thank you. So thank you everybody for coming here tonight. And thank you to Keesha, our host. Hopefully this has been a informative night, and as a host, Keisha's been able to walk us through some great topics. And yes, thank you. And also, importantly, thank you to Kadisha, Lauren, Sharina, and Sengo for for being vulnerable. I feel like we got a very big insight into the stories and experiences of the four of you, and I thank you for giving us the opportunity to hear your story, but also hopefully this has provided a platform for Milo to be known. Hopefully this has provided a platform for the four of you to empower other people with disability, their supporters and the people around them, and other allies in the community to educate the people around them and have the conversation, open up the conversation around everyone's rights and what everybody deserves. So yeah, thank you so much for doing that, and hopefully that's something that you can take away from this, and as the filming is aired. So it was mentioned that this will have an impact to people around the country. We did have some interest in the panel from people in the United States and Canada. So your stories will go far and wide, and I hope that everybody feels more empowered to have these conversations. So thank you so much. A big thank you to my lover Cindy, Kate and Rach for setting up this venue and continuously providing a safe space for our queer community and on Kaurna land, and yeah, really appreciate being able to host another event here. There will be more, no doubt. A huge thank you to our audience and some absolutely brave people for asking some questions and getting up on stage and getting involved. It's great. Absolutely. Absolutely. Also to Ironbark Films, a production of Feros Care. We've worked with Ironbark a few times now, and Julian, and yeah, really, really pleased with the work that they produce and looking forward to seeing what we get out of tonight. So thank you. So my name's Andrew. I'm the General Manager at Feros Care, based in South Australia on Kaurna land. I also want to thank our Feros Care executive team for supporting us in providing this platform for our amazing guests tonight. Also to our project team, so we had a project team of LAC and our service area manager from Townsville, but also South Australia. This has been a combined effort and looking at how we can make this the first of many. And more importantly, thank you to Takara Hamill, our service area manager from Townsville. Without Takara, we certainly wouldn't have had an event tonight. So absolute shout out to you. So thank you so much. Thank you. So I've just got a little gift for our panelists, and I'd love if everybody collects a little gift bag on your way out. There are some fun little treats in there, and hopefully, yeah, you will enjoy that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. You're all amazing. You're fabulous, and have a good night.
Thank you.